I am Daniel Sonntag. I'm an EFT practitioner, and I live in Western Massachusetts in the US.
And how do you use clean language?
I came across clean language through a picture tapping course as part of my EFT extended learning, and he recommended clean language, David Grove and you. So I bought your book, read it cover to cover, and loved it, and felt that it could really help me with my clients in a way that words never helped me before.
Mm.
Um,
What kind of clients do you see?
so with my EFT clients, and they're kind of coaching clients where I use EFT as one of the tools. They're people who, well, they're suffering from anxiety and the stress of their life. So I help them navigate their emotions through their stresses. Yeah.
And so, where does clean language come into that picture?
So for me, it's actually really important because I've always kind of helped people. I listen to their problems and try to give advice.
Mm.
It's exhausting. That was exhausting. So for me, clean language saved me from that because finding out that all I had to do was ask them a question rather than me trying to figure anything out, it became such a weight lifted off my shoulders. And I could see it in their face. And also, I experienced it with somebody doing it with me. Uh, they really feel heard
Mm.
when you use their language and their metaphor. I mean, they feel heard at a really deep level. And I felt like that was really different.
And I'm very curious about the weight being lifted off you as the
Mm,
practitioner, because
hmm.
it's something that I'm hearing more and more from people about the value of clean language for them.
Interesting.
You were listening to people's stories and they were telling you all these stresses and strains of their lives, and you were trying to help and fix.
Fix.
And then what happened with clean language?
Well, I, because I saw such an immediate and drastic result of them being able to, well, I mean, you have something like the power switch, what would you like to have happen? Oh my gosh, it would there you would see a transformation on their face. And they're like, it's almost like they wanted to say, they didn't say it because they were in that world for a moment, but it's like, no, nobody's ever asked me that before. What would it brought them out of their trap, like if they were in a trap, well, what would I like to have happened? And if the answer was I don't know, that was okay.
Hmm. Because the shift had happened in them just
Yeah.
by changing their thinking.
Yeah, and so they got to not do the work, but they were able to have their experience rather than me trying to come up with something better than they can come up with.
Hmm.
And also, I remember there were quite a few cases where I would say, "What would you like to have happened?" And I was kind of surprised by the answer. So I
What
realized, like, as intuitive as I think I am, they knew what they wanted to happen. I,
can you give an
I didn't.
example about that without obviously breaking
Yeah,
client
sure.
confidence?
I might have to wing it a little bit, but it would be something like, well, it would always surprise me that people wouldn't automatically all the time they wouldn't automatically just say what they wanted to have happen different out there, like other people. That's still certainly a valid answer, and I get that. Like I wish they would stop doing what they're doing because it's causing me pain. But many times people would say how they wanted to be different. And, I say it's like music to my ears because it's like, well, because I feel like there's hope in there. You,
Mm.
we might be able to do that. Like that becomes to me a real goal, and has nothing to do like it's a true power switch because they like traffic, let's say, for example. people in New York have to deal with. I'm not in New York anymore, but people in New York really suffer in the traffic when I'm sitting in traffic. Oh no, I did have a real case. I had a local case, a friend of mine who was having trouble with traffic. And I said, so when you're stuck in traffic, was his words, what would you like to have happen? And we just stayed with it and we played with it. And he was able to, well, he was able to be stuck in traffic.
And just to, I mean, I don't know EFT well, and I know nothing about picture tapping,
Okay.
but where I'm imagining it going for an EFT practitioner is, let's say somebody came up and said, well, when all this stuff is happening in my life, I'd like to be more resilient. You could then tap on.
Yep, you can tap on that. Usually what we're doing is since I consider myself a EFT practitioner, I often start with that. So
Mhm.
I'm writing down what they're saying and what they want to work on and what would you like to have happen gives me a place to start. EFT is often working on the blockages
Mhm.
and the triggers. So it's softening triggers. So it's like if that's what you would like to have happen, not that I would say what's blocking you from that, but well, it's not a bad question. And we can tap on that. And it's, EFT works like even though I feel stuck, or I feel anxiety when I'm stuck in traffic, I deeply and completely accept myself or something
Mhm.
like that. When I'm stuck in traffic, I feel really anxious so you stay with it and you're calming the nervous system
Mhm.
down. So the clean language helps me get to what that's really like for them because that's one of the questions. What's that like for you and what is that like
Mhm.
for you?
Mhm.
I, that was so helpful for this work because that's what we would literally tap on is what's that like for you? And their
Mhm.
response would be what I would be able to tap on
Mhm.
with that.
Mm. So interesting. What I think I'm hearing is you're not making your whole session with the client a clean language session. You're mixing and matching.
Hmm.
Could you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, that tends to be the way that I do it. Some people are pretty strict, but they'll just do EFT tapping or they might just do clean language. I have learned all these wonderful tools. So I'm doing sort of it the way that I do it, like the way that I talk and I clean language helps me slow it down a little bit. I actually will say to them, okay, can we do the questions on that? And like I'll slow it down and I'll say, and when, and if they're regular clients, they know that I'm gonna ask the question and they're ready. you know, they're like, what's the question? What is he going to say? And when such and such happens or such and such problem. And I really slow it down. So, a side note, that's another helpful thing for me with clean language. Um, what was the question? I think I lost the original question.
I was asking about how you mix and match clean language in with your other tools.
Oh, I mean, that's partially how. So I'll do havening, which is just, if I see they're just so agitated and they don't have words and, because very often people don't have words.
Mm.
I didn't in the beginning of learning EFT. I didn't have words.
Mm.
I had to go by what I saw in movies. I'm like, okay, I think they're showing anger, so I'll say anger. It took a while for me to
Yeah.
get in touch with my emotions. And, I really feel for people who are like that. And so it just calms them down. Sometimes that's
Mm.
all we can do. So a few questions, a little bit of tapping, a little bit of havening, and um, also logo synthesis is another thing with words
Mhm.
that I've come across. And I find out, and I love how you say it in the videos and in the book. Words are really important. The metaphors are really important. I mean, I knew metaphor. I knew what it was, but you you explain it like how you can actually use it and
Mm.
get people in touch with that.
And For a lot of people, I think that feelings, emotions are experienced more strongly in metaphor than in words.
Hmm.
That the feeling has a place in the body, it has a size, it has a shape, it has a movement, it has a direction, it might have a color, all those kinds
Yeah.
of things. And then just sticking a label on it like anger just feels
Yeah.
reductive.
Yeah. Because the word didn't match what I was feeling. What matched my feeling more was what color is that? What kind of anger is that anger? Such a
Mm,
great question.
mm,
What kind of anger? I'm trying to mimic the way that you say it. What kind of anger is that anger? It's
mm.
like what kind of because I'm doing the thing of like nobody's ever asked me that. I don't know, but give me a minute. Well, it's like, and then there's an answer.
Mm. So you've learned your clean language from videos and books. Do you know anyone else who uses clean language? Have you practiced with other clean language
Well, when
practitioners?
I practice with people, I'm like, try these questions with yourself. And I was really looking forward to doing this video with you because I would really love to promote it in my EFT community.
That would be fun. Let's see if
Yeah,
we can find other EFTers who might like
yeah,
to connect around it.
yeah,
Because I know there are plenty of EFTers who are interested in using clean language and who do use clean language. But of course, EFT isn't my game,
yeah,
but maybe we can find other people who might like to
yeah.
connect and practice and talk
Because
about it.
because we're very connected. We all have our mentor, and we still meet in groups. As literally just as part of our certification, but it keeps us really connected
Mhm.
with each other.
Yeah. And obviously there are various schools of EFT around the world. Different people teach it,
Yeah.
and isn't there something about something with very similar initials that is almost the same but not quite?
Yeah, and I'm certified with EFT International, which is a UK company.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
started with the one in America, but then I switched over for various reasons. And so yeah, my certification is EFT International in the UK. And
Well,
I believe Philip Davis is in the UK from picture tapping.
I shall track him down.
Yeah, I meet with a practitioner that I use for my own help is Gwyneth Moss, and she's in the UK.
Hmm. There's
So I
connections to be
love
made here.
international.
Yeah. So, is there
Yeah,
anything else that you'd like to say about how you use clean language with your clients?
it's really helped me listen in a whole new and different way. Listening without having to fix anything.
And
Being
what
able to
difference does that make?
just being able to repeat back to somebody the words that they use. I've become so much better at writing down their exact words. It's just smooth. It feels easy. And I know that they're having an experience of feeling heard. And even if we don't come up with this, like I'm much less solution driven. They're getting empowered or just feeling heard, and they might not have ever had that before. And that's really important to me with them because I feel like then they can have a breakthrough and they feel like it's theirs, not mine.
Hmm.
They come up with it.
And then what happens?
Well, it frees them up to come up with it. So they're freer, which certainly creates less anxiety because anxiety isn't always what's happening. It's just all the stuff.
Hmm.
One of my, I don't know if it's my favorite metaphor, but what I hear a lot is I have a million things going on. I have a million things in my mind. And so I say, a million. I'm like, okay, well, I have a lot of paper here. So, so let's start with this million things. What's on the top of that list or what's in
Hmm.
there? And they'll give me one thing. And I'll say, okay, we got a lot to go. Give me another one. And they get to two or three and they're like, so they have an experience of like, okay, I get it. And I didn't have to say, you don't have a million things on your mind, you know. It's like, okay, you have a million things on your mind. And I could do a clean language way,
Mm,
but you know,
yeah.
that's the
Hmm.
way that I've come up with because I think it's funny that for the most part they think it's funny. Like,
And
okay,
that's piece about it's funny is important. It's some people take clean language very, very seriously.
oh, I mean, I take it seriously because it is so helpful. But I'll do a million, a million, a million things. Okay, well, this is going to take a while. Let's start with one of those things.
And clean language can be part of your repertoire of humor as well as part
Yeah,
of your repertoire
yeah.
of help.
I think it's helped me that I kind of learned it on my own without real form because they loosened me up
Mhm.
from that. I mean, I want to do it the right way. I mean, that's in there with me, but um, also what I'm doing seems to be working. So I'm really grateful because you really did simplify it for someone like me